A lot of people think 2026 is a bad time to buy a home in San Diego. Between the higher home prices and the rates that are higher than they were a few years ago, many buyers I talk to tell me they are waiting for the perfect time to buy. What they don't realize is that waiting for the perfect time can actually cost you money. Let's talk about what really matters if you're thinking about buying a home in 2026. If we haven't met, my name is Scott. I'm a San Diego realtor, and I help buyers, sellers, investors, and people relocating here to make smart real estate decisions. This question comes up in almost every buyer conversation I'm having right now. So why are buyers confused about buying in 2026? For one, headlines are all over the place. Just remember, news is designed to get you to read or watch more news, not to give you the best real estate or financial advice. Mortgage rates feel high compared to a few years ago, but are they high historically speaking? We'll talk about that today. Another reason is buyers are scared of overpaying. Nobody wants to overpay when they buy something. Everyone is waiting for something to change. Most buyers today are waiting, but they're not always waiting for the right reasons. We're going to cover a few myths in today's video. And myth number one is that I should wait to buy until rates drop. Let's talk about rates. A lot of buyers tell me that rates are really high right now. If you look at the historical average, they started tracking mortgage rates in 1971. So over the last 55 years, we've seen rates, the lowest point they've been was in 2021. They were a little over 2.5%. And the highest that they've been was back in 1981. They were over 18% at that time. If you average it out over the last 55 years, the historical trend is about a 7.5% interest rate for a 30-year mortgage. So where we're sitting today in early 2026, right around 6%, is actually not high. We're actually about 1.5% lower than the historical average. The other thing you want to factor is that your rate can change in the future if you can refinance. When you buy a house, the purchase price that you pay is never going to change. That's always going to be the price that you paid for the house. But if interest rates drop 2 or 3 years after you purchased, you can always refinance, drop your rate, and drop your payment down. So as long as the payment makes sense today and you're comfortable with where the payment is, I'm encouraging people to buy based on today's interest rates and not to wait for the rates to come down. Myth number two that I hear is prices are about to crash. I got my real estate license back in 2017. And 9 years ago, when I started in this business, people were telling me back then that they were waiting for the next crash and then they were going to buy. I've seen very healthy appreciation over the last 9 years, and I'm still waiting for this so-called crash to happen. Remember, markets don't just crash just because we've had lots of appreciation over the last few years. They're caused by some kind of economic or other factor. So if you think the market is going to crash, ask yourself, what specifically is going to be the cause of the crash? Because it's not going to all come crashing down just because prices have been going up. With everything, pricing varies by region, city, and neighborhood. Some neighborhoods are stable, some are competitive, some have low inventory. Pricing is always a hyper-local conversation. If prices were truly crashing, we'd see it already. And that's just not what's happening across San Diego. Myth number three. Waiting always puts me in a better position. You know what happens when you wait? Your rent continues to rise, and every month you make another payment on your landlord's mortgage. Everyone is paying a mortgage. The question is just, are you paying your mortgage or your landlord's? The other thing to consider is that when rates drop, competition is going to increase. If you are thinking about waiting until rates drop, you aren't the only one who's doing that. Lots of buyers will be jumping back into the market when rates drop, and we know from basic economics with supply and demand, if demand goes up and supply stays the same, prices will rise. Buy before rates drop and beat the price rise that will follow. Buyers who wait often end up paying more. When everyone jumps back in at once, buyers lose their leverage. Let's talk about when buying in 2026 does make sense. If you plan to stay for at least 3 to 5 years, you've picked an area of San Diego that you like, and you'd be happy living in it for a number of years. You also have a stable income. You're in a good situation with your job. There's no pending layoffs that you're worried about next month. You feel reasonably certain that your income will continue or increase. You're comfortable with today's payment. You may wish rates were lower and you can get a lower payment, but if you're comfortable with the payment today and it's not putting stress on your other finances. And lastly, like we talked about earlier in the video, you understand you can refinance later if rates do drop. On the flip side of that, let's talk about some reasons when it might make sense to wait. If you have short-term plans or an unknown future plans, are you talking about moving to Arizona to be closer to family? Are you in line for a job promotion next year that could relocate you to Nevada? If you don't plan to be in San Diego for several years, or think there's a decent chance you may move, then it might be best to wait. Do you have a big financial change coming? Are you looking at moving into a commission-only role at your work? Are you looking at starting a business? Are you looking at possibly taking care of a family member? Any of these could be reasons to hold off on your home purchase. Maybe you just aren't emotionally ready yet. You're still younger and you like the idea of being able to move around, and you aren't ready to settle down in one area, even if you could afford it financially. Buying a home is a personal decision. Not everyone should buy right now, and that's okay. If you're thinking about buying or relocating to San Diego in 2026, feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I'd be happy to chat through your particular situation, answer any questions that you might have, and help you decide if now makes sense for you. No pressure, just clarity. If this was helpful, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.